awesome StarPodLog video episode. We're going to meet Lost in Space superfan
Tom Frogner.
All right, when I say you're a superfan, that's not an understatement.
No, it's not an understatement at all.
All right, so most superfans, their houses have just like toys and trinkets and books. Why are you the superfans of Lost in Space?
Because I have a spaceship in my basement. And I have
Amazing.
I have the flight deck from the Jupiter 2 in my basement.
Okay.
And also, believe it or not, the entrance to the Bat Cave is in my basement. We have Wayne Manor Study.
Yes.
And complete with the Shakespeare head, and also the entrance to the Bat Cave with the bookcase that you can, if you open the Shakespeare head, press the button, it opens, and sure enough, there is Adam West as Batman. But probably the crown jewel of the basement actually is the Jupiter 2 and the collection of all the memorabilia from Lost in Space. We have actual props and costumes that we use in the show, and our collection's been featured on MeTV's Collector's Call with Lisa Welch. So, and if you'd like to see that video, you can actually get on YouTube, type in Collector's Call Lost in Space, and you can see it. But right now, we're at WonderFest, and we've brought the flight deck with us right here.
This is incredible.
And this same version is in my basement as well.
This is incredible. It's actually tactile. It's not just foam, it's metal.
And this is an actual copy of the actual flight deck prop that was used in the original television show Lost in Space.
How did you go about building this?
Well, what happened was originally I had acquired. I do have a B9 robot, and I was finishing my basement, and my builder said, I just asked him, I said, let's put an elevator from the Jupiter 2 and put my robot on it. And he basically said, look, let's go ahead and do the whole Jupiter 2, the first deck, okay? So, and I said, I can't do these controls. I can't do this kind of stuff. He goes, well, I have a gentleman, his name is Rudy, and he does that sort of thing because he's a retired electrician from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and he specialized in flight simulators for pilots.
It's all mobile.
And so he just said, this is going to be child's play. It was child's play. So as you can see, it's very realistic. Crowds enjoyed at the show, and they enjoy getting their pictures taken with it. And I'm just very blessed to be able to do this.
What was the process of getting things screen accurate? Did you have to use stills? Did you have books?
We basically used a lot of stills. I would do a lot of internet searches from Lost in Space flight deck. And I would download as many pictures as I could. I would make 8 by 10 photos, and that's how we used it. I also had a set of blueprints that we could use. But the blueprints are very loose because as the production on the show progressed, they would make changes, and they really weren't on the blueprints. So, but looking at the photos, you could really tell what to do. So we tried to make it as authentic as possible.
So let's talk about this section over here, the costumes.
We're going to go over with the costumes. Props. And first of all, we're going to show, these are first season costumes, and these are all reproductions. But I have all 3 seasons of costumes that we use, and each year, a different show, we change the costumes out. So we're really very proud to be able to premiere the first season costumes this year. And we also have an astronaut over there, and that's actually Major Don West. And that was the type of spacesuit that they wore when they would go outside of the Jupiter 2. But even better than that, we have the original helmet that was used by June Lockhart in the first 2 episodes, and later worn by Warren Oates in the episode of Welcome Stranger. So I acquired that through the Planet Hollywood collection, and that was also featured on our MeTV Collector's Call show as well. We also have a Roman helmet here that was worn by Jonathan Harris in the episode The Colonists. And this helmet actually has quite a history to it. It was also used in the movie Cleopatra, Ben-Hur, Demetrius and the Gladiators, The Time Tunnel, and also, believe it or not, an episode of Star Trek.
Bread and circuses.
Right, that's correct. And as we pan over, we have a box over here which is called the electronic synthesizer unit. This was used in 2 episodes of Lost in Space, Space Vikings and Space Pirates. And this was also featured in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, and was also used in the '66 Batcave in Batman.
I love old 60s shows because of the fact that the props were going back and forth. And it's almost like Easter eggs looking for
a lot of props. And then we have laser rifles and the laser pistols, and these are all reproductions. We have a bottle of deuteronium that they use for fuel. And in one episode, they needed a bottle of carbon tetrachloride. Here's the type of flashlight that they used.
Your walkways are on the right track.
And even in one episode, Dr. Smith had disinjected the SOS can that had tape in it where he dictated being out in space and being lost.
Oh dear.
That's right.
Well, what about this?
This is Verta the Android, which is a very, very good costume. I'm very fortunate I have a seamstress in Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria, and she has made all of these costumes for me. She is really talented, and this is probably one of her best.
This is a unique aspect of a hobby. I see a lot of people building robots.
That's correct. Yeah, I have a robot as well, but mine's down in the basement, and he weighs about 200 pounds, and that's where he's staying.
And so hobbyists come to conventions and then bring their own robots and showcase them.
That's right.
It's incredible.
And we actually have 5 robots at this convention.
What about the Cyclops?
Well, let's go over to the other side here. And this is an animatronic costume of the Cyclops that was used during the first season. And he appeared in a couple other episodes. And we also have 2 original costumes used in the series from the Promised Planet. We also have a orange spaceman who was featured in the episode Flight into the Future. And that's this is his premiere today.
That's interesting, that Lost in Space
Halloween
costume.
That's right.
Costume.
That's an original 1966 Lost in Space Halloween costume.
Did you happen to have one when you were a kid?
Yes, I did.
So tell us what it was like growing up a Lost in Space fan as a kid.
As a kid, you know, I was in 3rd grade. I can remember the first night it even premiered. I sat in front of the black and white television where you only got 3 channels, all right? And when it premiered, it would premiere at 7:30. The prime time started at 7:30 during those days. And at first episode, I was just mesmerized. And that's what kind of got me into the whole thing. The whole look of the Jupiter 2, the silver spacesuits, the robot, and of course the nefarious Dr. Zachary Smith, and how he made his entrance on the Jupiter 2.
Tell us a little bit about this model.
This is a 4-foot filming miniature. This is a replica based upon the original forms. And it's made out of fiberglass. It is quite heavy, but this is what they use to film miniature scenes for Lost in Space.
Now the Jupiter 2 reminds me of the TARDIS in the fact that it's way bigger on the inside than on the outside.
Yes, there is a second level to it.
Has there ever been any fan theories as to why that is?
That's just how Irwin Allen, the producer, did things, basically. And then also, you want to take a look. These are the 1960s toys of Lost in Space. And I always like to show them because, you know, as kids, this is what we saw in the store. This is what we bought. I was very fortunate. My dad had a McCrory's 5 and 10 store.
Good, McCrory's. I remember McCrory's, yeah.
And growing up in a store was a really, really cool thing. And if he had any Lost in Space toys in the store, that's what I got for Christmas. So my first Lost in Space toy actually was the Remco robots that we see here. And it was Christmas time, and my dad basically said, pick out your Christmas present. So I picked out the Remco robot. I went through every single box to pick out the color combination that I wanted. And I picked out a very rare color combination, even to this day. And I kept my robot mint.
So, do you still have your original toys from a child?
Yes, I do.
That's amazing.
I do have my original Lost in Space toys, and these were all featured on Collector's Call. So we invite you to go on YouTube, and you're going to type in Collector's Call, Lost in Space, and we invite you to watch the episode. So,
Well, thanks for joining us.
and it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.